Hello, hello. Took me by surprise there. Ooh.
Hey, Mike, we were just talking off air, and you didn't notice something about me this week, but my hair's nearly like yours now. I just cut 3 inches off it tonight.
Have you? Yeah, mine's quite long.
Yeah, I cut about, I think it was actually closer to about 4 inches because it was about that much I took off my hair at the back this afternoon.
Yeah,
Oh my God, I feel so short now, but at least it's bringing out all the curls.
there you go.
We're coming up to summer, so this is my short hair summer look now.
That's
You
it.
know,
Yeah.
I am considering putting a new color through it. So if anyone's watching and you think, oh yeah, this color would look great on Linda, hello, I'm up for it. as long as it's not blue, I won't go blue.
No, you're too young for the
Purple.
blue rinse, Linda. Another few years yet with your Zimmer frame.
I was actually thinking more like the Elvis Presley blue on black like
Oh,
look. Oh my God, that just made my eyes water. Yeah, but I won't go purple either. You know how people go around with purple hair?
yeah,
No, I'm not a purple girl because everything I am is red.
yeah.
But I'm bright red. And I don't want hair this color.
No,
So I'm not going to go red. But yeah, interesting.
yeah.
One year I did go dark brown, and it came out sort of like the color on the wall behind you. So I was a
Oh,
walking Cocoa Pop for
right.
6 months. Yeah.
There you are.
I
A-
got
Ash
traumatized by that
blonde.
one.
Uh, Amanda Murphy
Ash
says
blonde
Ash blonde.
red. I was thinking that one. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's good to see a girl coming on too saying, yeah, this colour would look good on you. Yeah, so I may do something this weekend because I'm trying to still save my voice.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, anyway. Yeah, getting me to stop talking is trying to stop the tide.
mm, yeah,
Seriously.
yeah,
I talk under wet cement all day, every day. If I'm not talking to my daughter, I'm talking to the cat, and if I'm not talking to them, I'm talking to people on the computer every day. Anyway,
yeah.
yeah. So,
Well,
what do you know, Mike?
my bit of news is that I can now be found on MeWe. Um,
Yay!
MeWe is a platform. I had it for quite a while, never used it, and it's an Icelandic company, I believe, and they don't do any ads, they don't do any tracking, and the only way they make their money is if you buy add-ons, which is fair enough, and it's
Yeah,
only a couple of dollars here and a couple of dollars there. It's very good, and a lot of people I know now are exiting. There's a big exodus of Facebook onto something like MeWe. Can't do a
yeah,
live show there yet, but I'm on there, and I'm got on Rumble, and I can't think of the Brighteon. So the shows will be going up there. But I think at some point we may switch over to Rumble where you can do live shows. So
yeah.
and then we'll see where that all takes us, because I just think sooner or later I'm going to be pulled from YouTube. So
Well,
I started loading stuff up, and I'll just keep it as an archive, I think.
well, I'll go there, Mike.
Mm,
I am nearly at the point now where I could monetize YouTube if I wanted to.
mm,
Um, I every day I'm having this battle within my brain whether to monetize YouTube or not.
mm,
Because if I monetize it, they come down extremely heavy
yeah,
on specific words,
mm,
phrases, even places. There's
yeah,
places that you can't even mention. And I don't know if I want to be that censored
yeah,
with what I say.
yeah.
You know, at this point, you can't even mention a country that starts with R and then Usher
Would that be
after it.
Russia?
Well, honey, even that could get us turned off.
Yeah,
That's how stringent they're now using these algorithm
yeah,
stuff. So I don't know if I want to be a part of that.
mm,
I want to promote peace, love. I want to be a part of equality, and I want to also be a part of working together for the better good. So how do we get to that point where we are the better good unless we identify the behaviours or the characters or the countries even that aren't? So there must be conversations regarding what's going on.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the only, we don't have to put our energy into it, but it's identifying what we call negative, so then we can move past it, send it love, and hope to never be like that.
Yeah.
So how do we know what that is unless we openly discuss it?
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It's like the D word. I don't mention the D words, but I know what they are only because I've researched them and I know what they're capable of, and I know what sort of behaviours they possess. So we have to know what they are in order to be on the other side of that fence to them,
Yeah.
So, I just don't like the censorship that has come in with so many places now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, when we do go into the lovely, lovely cashless society, because it looks pretty inevitable at this point, even though I'm trying very hard every day to stop it. I keep going back to the show Sequest DVD or whatever it was. It was Roy Schreider back in the 1990s. He had a submarine that was like a futuristic show.
Right.
And there's this scene where he's driving down the road and he's speeding on his motorbike. And he goes through the speed limit and you can see that he's speeding.
Yeah.
And then this woman in a control booth rings him up and says, "Oh, we just detected you speeding. $98.14 has just come off your credits."
Yeah.
So it's instant.
Yeah.
Instant.
Summary judgment.
People, there's no debate or appeal with these decisions. It's just instant. So if they take every cent that you own, how can then you go and get, say, a lawyer and say, "Hey, I need to defend myself against this claim"?
Yeah. You can't.
So it's their word against ours, and our word will not make any difference ultimately to any judgments that they seem fit. That's where I'm at with this cashless society. So I don't know how it's going to work. It's like the damn electric car system. I don't know how that's going to work. I just think I honestly believe that they've thrown that out there as a big distractant. So we talk about, electric cars are not going to work. It takes 9 hours to charge a car. It's going to drain the grid, so all the power grids are going to collapse because everyone's going to be charging their cars at the same time. That's just the big distractor. So then they can do all this cashless society stuff in the background without people finding out about it. Because look at the last 2 years. There's videos out there now that prove that this was all planned 10 years ago. But we had the distractors. Oh, look, another certain school had a certain person holding a weapon. Damn, another.
It's all distraction.
Cyclops without the L. Think about it, people. It's all Cyclops without the L's. And at the end of the day, we're down the rabbit hole. Spirituality, if anything, it takes us down that rabbit hole. And we've got to be critical thinkers to protect our spirit and our souls ultimately. We've got to defend the beliefs of what we have, which are free will, protection, security, equality,
Yeah. Well, there were some interesting questions with our spiritual report yesterday about truth and beliefs, and are they one of the same thing? And I think the answer was no, because you can have a belief that isn't necessarily true. And it got really got deep that, is it important to have, does truth only exist on the earth plane? And, in what context? Because we know in the higher realms, in the heavenly realms, it isn't a question of truth or not truth. Things just are, and they resonate at a frequency, and that's the end of it. So, there were some very deep questions there that got asked. Really, the meaning of life type of questions. The whole point of this is, I think, Linda, and I've been bashing on about it for God knows how long now. and I'm getting fed up bashing on about it. I'm sick of hearing my own thoughts. But to change this world for abundance for all, for joy for all, and where no one gets left behind, in other words, 5D, we have to direct our thoughts where we want the world to go, and then do some kind of action, because thought alone is really not enough. We need some action to do it as well, and it ends. All this ends. It's really
That's
that
right.
simple.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the action. You are right. You know, I can just sit there and send love and light to all these like nasty types on the
Yeah.
planet. You know, we've all got someone who fits in that nasty type box.
Yeah.
You know, just think of any 3-letter agency out there, and you're on the money. But at the end of the day, if we don't stand up and let these idiots, or whatever you want to call them, misinformed, or you know, whatever their misconceptions are about what they feel is righteous, at the end of the day, who are we to judge? But as long as we stand up and say, look, at the end of the day, it is your free will what you do.
Yeah.
But how about you consider this as an option as well?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how we got to the point where now they're thinking humanity's got to get off world. Why aren't they just trying to fix what they've already bloody done here? You know, are we that far gone that they can't fix what's been done in the last 100 years of technology? That's scary, you know.
Well, I go along with the great comedian George Carlin, which is the first thing is that I do is I never believe what any government or official tells me. That's the first thing. And then he says, I have this crazy idea of being a free thinker.
Well, okay, for those who don't know what's happening in Australia, I will tell you, because this is in the media, okay? About 2 weeks ago, our second major telecommunication company got hacked. A few days later, these hackers came out and said that we've now hacked the biggest health insurance company. Oh, what luck, it's also a government-based insurance. Okay, so it's government has been hacked. So now we've got the federal police, we've got the FBI, we've got all these people involved. And yesterday they've come out. Now, this is in the media, so I'm only repeating what the media has said, and it's not my personal opinion. But now they've come out and said it is a company out of Russia, and they're downloading all these millions of names on the dark VVEB. If you put the two V's together, it looks like a W. So it's the dark VVEB, right? If you're following me. So I don't want to use the word, because every time I say the dark
Which
VVEB,
I do have a link for, by the way, which I don't use.
Advertise that, Mike. Okay? Don't advertise that. So this is what I put on our media outlet. You know, I'm there as Linda Kramer, and I'm happy to have the black vans pull up and interrogate me, because, you know, I've just got questions as a critical thinker. Why Australia? Why is it Russia? Why is it this company? Ha, ha, ha. Why is it the government? Why this? You know, just to make people think. Because every time I think about this, all I get is the fact that banks will pay someone to break into their vaults in order to protect what they've got. So to me, it could be, now this is my personal opinion, which I'm entitled to, it could be an inside job where this is all just them fixing all the, you know, doing their beta testing before we go cashless, so then no one hacks into it in the future when all this cashless society does come in. How do we know? You know, where's the, well, they're apparently there's this ransom note where they're saying we want $1 million, which is $1 per person, because they've got 1 million names on this list. So where's the ransom note? Because that's the first thing someone as a critical thinker would ask for. So where's the ransom note? Where's the proof that this is actually occurring here with our data breaches or privacy breaches here in Australia? You know, it's something to think about because, you know, the whole thing over the past 2 years, and I do believe it's been a cyclops without the L. Um, so,
Yeah.
so you know, it's the last 2 years has made us compliant.
Yeah.
It's made us non-thinkers.
Yeah.
It's made us sheep to the point where we just bend over and let the government do whatever they want to us. That's how I feel, you know? So this could be them just pushing the limit to see how far the Australian people are going to bend over, you know? So take that however you mean it. But, you know, we've got to just keep as critical thinkers, think of our own humanity,
Yeah.
and most of all, think about our preservation of what we want in 10 generations' time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I certainly don't want my daughter to think that she's got to get on a spaceship, go into that cryogenetic state for 10 million years while they transport her to another country or another world where she's got to wear an oxygen mask for the rest of her life because it's unlivable where she goes to, you know. So I don't want that for my daughter.
Yeah.
I want her to be able to walk amongst the trees, to see rabbits joyfully frolicking in the grass and plains like any kid, and looking up to see the stars at night to fill her with the hope and dreams of a better life for herself. You know, that's where I'm at with my daughter.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, anyway, there you go. My voice is starting to already crack up.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's start.
Let's have a look at the haunted doll.
Katerina will be back next week. But I tell you what, before we do the haunted doll and this creepy situation where this kid was watching the TV after, let me just read out, because Joanne Martin, she came to me because you sent it to me regarding a little incident that she had. They're two very short incidents. I'll just read them out just to get us into it. It says there, I was working at home at my desk, which is in my lounge room. It was around 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon, and my son came home from school. He came inside, said hi, shut the front security screen, but left the front door open and went straight upstairs. A few moments later, I looked at the door and I thought I should go and shut it, as it was a bit cold. No sooner had I said that, the next thing, the door slowly closes shut. She said I was dumbfounded. There wasn't a heap of wind, and it was a heavy door and doesn't usually do that. In any case, someone or something was helping me out. And that's a good way to look at it. I mean, in itself, it doesn't actually say anything, but to her, I think she felt something was happening because it was unusual for her, you know. And
absolutely. So the first thing I say to people, Mike, because I'm in a few paranormal groups, you know, where people say, oh, I've had this experience, I'm so scared, okay? I sit there and I reply to them and I say, what are you scared for? Were you punched? Were you kicked? Were you pushed downstairs? Have you had your hair pulled out? Did you have a car engine thrown at you? Have you been flung through the air? Have you woken up with scratches and kick marks all over you where you're bruised and black and blue all over? No? Then what are you scared of? Because this is just somebody coming through to say hello. And I think exactly that's what's going on there with Joanne. Because they're helping her by closing the door. You know, there is a lot of debate out there whether ghosts and spirits can actually read our minds. Because in heaven, I know we can. We can hear the thoughts of other people when we're in heaven. So that makes sense that if spirit comes through to give us a message, can they read our minds? So could have that been a deceased person who's gone to heaven and comes through and said, oh, she's thinking about closing the door, I'll help her out. Or could it be just a ghost lurking around the house saying, oh, she looks like she's going to get cold, I'll close the door. Or could it be someone saying, oh, damn, that kid, he closed one door but I'll do the other. So either way, the end result is always they were helping her out. They weren't trying to scare her, or else they would have picked up something and thrown it at her head.
But, you know, often when I do the table tipping and it's not on camera, Jean will answer the question before I finished actually saying the question.
That's right. And that's like my girl.
Yeah.
All I have, we look at a question like, should I go to the shops today? Today, right? So as soon as I say the sh of the should, she already knows all these other 7 words.
Yeah.
So I'll say, should I? She's already coming through saying yes.
Yeah. It's
Because
a vibrational thing.
So it's the intention.
Yeah.
Because I've already been thinking about that journey to the shop in my mind. So, yeah, they know it.
Yeah.
Because where they are, there's no time also.
Okay.
So, yeah, they don't have to wait for all the words to come out. And I'm pretty sure they do get a little bit impatient with me sometimes because I do like saying the whole sentence before she answers. And it's like she's sitting there like, oh, come on. I want to just tell her the answer.
Well, Jeanne, anyone who watches the Spiritual Report, Jeanne moves the table in a special way, in a significant way that indicates stop talking and ask the next question. So it does this spin that's very clear, is, you don't have to explain any further. I've explained it. Next question. So, but yeah. So, all right. Look, I'll just read this second part, and then we'll get on with the doll story. It says, the other thing happened to me was like a doppelganger. So my son, who has high functioning autism, was walking home from getting off the bus. He called me as he was walking home and asked me where I was. I said, I'm at home. He then said, are you sure? Because I just saw your car go past and it looked like you and my brother, and looked and smiled at me. He thought I'd taken his brother to McDonald's. 2 days later, my brother sent me a text message asking if I needed any help, as she thought she had seen me in a car smash and I looked like I might need a lift. I said, thank you, but it wasn't me. Seems someone in my area looks like me and drives the same car. That wouldn't be hard as my car is common, but how bizarre my son saw what he thought was me and my brother. So I can identify with this. I'll tell you why very briefly, because we got a friend in Panama and she took a photo of this concert that they were doing, and there's this guy sitting in the audience or standing in the audience at the back with his arms folded that's a ringer for me. And I thought, well, did I astral project through the night over there, or is this actually a doppelganger? Who knows? But so I can understand this.
Just the other night, I was at my kitchen window. So you can imagine a wall and there's 3 windows, and out of all 3, because they're big windows, you can see into the backyard. So I was at the kitchen window and I was washing up and doing something for dinner, and I walked past the other window, the next one, and I looked outside and I saw Tashi sitting under the pergola, sitting in one of the chairs, and she was sort of like just sitting there like she was on her phone. So I've observed her there. I saw her clothes and everything. So I thought, I'll go outside and see her. So I've gone to the next window, which is a screen door, by the way. So I saw her, kept going, and I went, hey, Tashi, she's not there. So I've turned around, went down to her bedroom, and there she is on her bed.
Yeah.
So she could not have gone past me to get onto her bed.
No.
So how did I see her outside when she wasn't even there?
Yeah.
So I said to Tashi, I said, what were you just thinking about? And she said, well, Mum, I actually was just thinking about going outside and sitting under where I saw her and playing my game out in the sun. And I thought, well, that's a bit freaky. So is this like a conscious thing that we can actually project ourselves? Is it deliberate act, or is it just a random freak of phenomena where we can't harness it and create it? So interesting thoughts, But yeah, I saw Tashi out, out the back.
My guess on that would be that she created the thought, and so therefore the thought, the actual presence, the energy was created, but it actually just wasn't physically put into motion yet. And basically, you future remote viewed what she was thinking.
There's a few theories there, Mike. There's a few theories there as to how this works. You know? All right.
let's
So
go and have a
yeah.
look
So
at
Joanne.
the haunted
Yeah.
doll and this poor unfortunate kid. I'm laughing, it's terrible. Who
I know the
freaked
poor
out.
kid.
Here we go. Let's see what they have to say.
And other supernatural energies. This is a question many paranormal investigators have grappled with over the years. Now, a series of eerie videos over on TikTok are also making viewers question whether dolls really can be haunted. After picking up a doll at a local antique auction, this homeowner decided to make a TikTok account called Haunted Charlotte to document the strange events that had since begun to transpire. Shortly after bringing the doll home, the couple began to find random objects on the floor. The OP's wife immediately suggested that the doll was haunted, but they couldn't say for certain. So they decided to set up a camera to film the doll while they were both out of the house. Take a look at what's being caught on film. The footage is sped up, but you can see objects begin to move around the house. Then eventually their dog walks in and gets spooked by something.
What did he see?
A second video shows some more strange activity. When the homeowner puts the antique doll next to his daughter's Cabbage Patch doll, it begins to move around.
This is what happens whenever I put her near my daughter's old Cabbage Patch doll.
The OP shows that there's no batteries and that he's actually cut the power cord inside of the doll. Yet it continues to move.
But wait, there's more. I even cut the wire to see if that would stop it. Is she causing this?
In a follow-up video, one commenter suspected that something suspicious might be happening and said that you also need to take out the batteries in the feet of the doll as well. Here he proves that they too have been taken out, yet the doll keeps moving. It's some home security footage of a boy playing some video games, when suddenly things turn a little strange. Take a look.
Mom?
Watching that again, two doors open on either side of the room.
Mom?
The boy notices them, but doesn't pay them too much attention. Then suddenly, it's as though something grabs the boy's chair and pulls him backwards. He screams for his mum and runs from the room. Most viewers have been creeped out by this footage, saying that the boy's reaction feels quite genuine.
Mom?
So what do you think? Could this boy really have been attacked by some kind of paranormal force? Watch the clip again and judge for yourself.
Well, should we start with the haunted doll? I've got my theory. I know you'll like this
What do you
one
think?
because of the Cabbage Patch doll, but my theory is that it's not so much the doll that's haunted, but an energy that comes with the doll. As I say, it's attached itself to the doll, and so I think
Yes.
it's just the energy likes the doll, and where the doll goes, the energy goes. So rather than the doll being haunted itself, that's my point of view. I know you have issues with things that move because, you know, you say you've got to take the batteries out, but all the batteries are out there. So what's going on with that one? You're the expert in this field. Let's see what's happening.
Alright. I bought this dog for my daughter.
Yeah.
It was about that big, and it was a dog, and it on its belly, underneath it, it turned it upside down so the 4 legs are up in the air, and on its belly you put in 3 AA batteries. So what this dog used to do, it used to walk forward and you'd hear it walk. So it was like a and then the bum would sit down and it would go, oh, 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 3 hours. And then it would get up, sit down, ow, ow, ow. And its eyes would shine bright yellow.
Okay.
So Tashi thought this was really cool at night because it was like a night light. Okay? This dog, ow, 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 $3. So I got sick of it because Tashi used to have it on, but did she used to turn it on? Because I took the batteries out of the box in its belly.
Yeah.
And that night Tashi went to bed, and it wasn't straight away. It would have been about 4 hours later. All I could hear was shh, 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 ow, 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 shh, shh, shh. And I walked into her room, and there it is walking straight towards me in the doorway.
Right.
And I just looked at these big yellow eyes in the dark, and I thought, holy shit. So I knew there was no batteries in that dog. So there's a few possibilities, Mike.
Yeah.
One, could it be that there is still some electricity generated from the battery in the connections of the doll?
Right.
Because I've spoken to my electrician about Roy's TV, because Roy's TV used to come on after he died when no one else lived there.
Yeah.
So I said, what would make that TV still turn on? And he said, oh, that's probably just the electricity that's still in the line.
Right.
So could there still be some sort of charge inside these animals? But what debunks that is how long these things still move without batteries inside them.
Yeah.
Look at that Cabbage Patch doll. That's going for a few minutes.
Yeah.
I know that doll, that dog that Tashi had, it went for at least 3 or 4 minutes before I even got out of bed.
Yeah.
So by the time I walked into her room and seen it to pick it up, it would have been 5 minutes. I don't know how a battery could generate that much charge when it's not there to generate it.
Yeah.
You know? So I love the fact that he did it on the film showing that there were no batteries in that doll. Okay? Now, I hope you like my comment. If there was ever a doll that will haunt you, that one will be it. Because that doll was scary as.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
you look
also-
at the eyes on that doll.
It also makes me question, why would you want to buy a doll that looks awful like that? What would be the purpose of it?
I will go there, Mike. We have this phase. It is a phase, and I wish it would just die out and go away. But there's this, like, cool thing people do here in Australia, and they're called creepy dolls.
Right.
Stalker dolls. And, yeah, they're creepy dolls. So, yeah, you drive down the road and someone will have a really disgusting looking doll, just like that one, sitting up in the back seat of the car,
Right.
looking out the back window.
Yeah.
So the person in the back, the next driver coming up behind them sees this creepy doll. Yeah, they stick them on letterboxes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you drive down the street, people stick these creepy dolls on their damn letterboxes and stuff. So, it is to cause a reaction in people, obviously.
Yeah.
But why would you do that? Because you're creating that energy, But that doll, as you said, it's not the actual doll that's haunted. It's an intelligent entity has attached itself to that doll.
Yeah.
So I thoroughly believe that is what is occurring. But why would you just have it sitting there in the lounge room like he had on that half wall between his dining room and his kitchen?
Yeah.
It seems so out of place there.
Yeah.
You'd put it on a mantle, or I've got dolls on my bedside table next to my bed. You don't stick them just there on a half wall between the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because it would be knocked over.
Yeah. Well, it's actually very provocative putting it there.
That's right. So,
yeah.
But I'm not disputing the fact that I think there's something going on there, because hello, that doll, that Cabbage Patch doll, that was weird.
Yeah.
I would love to be there to see that myself.
Yeah.
So I could high five the owners and say, good catch.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the next one, the boy playing with the TV.
Mm.
The last scream he does, where he goes, "Mom!"
Yeah.
Poor little boy.
Yeah.
That to me, if they set it up without his knowledge, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But then we got to look at how was it set up.
Mm.
So I've rewound this footage a few times, and he's sitting on a chair similar to mine. Mine's on swivels,
Mm-hmm.
right? So my chair swivels, and it's got wheels.
Yeah.
So when I sit down, all the wheels go the same way.
Yeah.
So you can see from where he's sitting, those wheels are going like he would sit there, pull himself into the desk, and then put his feet up on the seat, right?
Mm.
So that's all good. But then when it gets pulled, the wheels move in the direction of where it's getting pulled. Now, could this be just string?
Mm-hmm.
I doubt it's string,
Mm.
because not only does it have to move the weight of the chair, but it also has to move the weight of that kid sitting on the chair.
Yeah.
And he's not a little kid. Have
No.
you noticed?
No.
He's not a little kid.
Yeah.
He's not like a little 2-year-old kid. He's got some weight to him.
Yeah.
So it could be fishing line,
Yeah.
but I doubt it, because just the way it just does move.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good footage, and I will go there. I like that footage.
Yeah.
Even without his audio of being scared, because it could, someone could have set that up before he went into the room.
Yeah.
So they get his genuine reaction,
Yeah.
right? But I honestly, because of the way the wheels moved when it started moving, so yeah, it's a
Well,
good footage. I like I like both of them.
The only thing that goes against it, but I think, the evidence of the chair moving is so strong, but the only thing goes against it is the back door we just see open. Could be somebody the other side just open
Absolutely.
it. And the front door that
Absolutely.
opens there, we only see the top half, and it could be someone again. But I think this is the real deal all the same. I think this kid was
So do
genuinely
I.
terrified. And the only other thing is that this would be using, is it Photoshop, where you can actually make that chair do exactly what you want it to do. But I don't think so.
Hard.
Listening to
Hard, because he was moving on the chair.
yeah,
So it would be hard.
but
It's all right if he was just like,
he had a
doll.
genuine fear in his voice.
he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
And that's not a mum that he would want to go to school and say, "Oh my God, I called out for my mum last night." He would not want people to hear that, because that sounded like a 2-year-old
Yeah.
really scared.
Yeah,
And he's a big boy now. He's probably a 8 or 10-year-old kid sitting there.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be embarrassed by
Yeah.
saying, "Oh yeah, I called my mum last night because of what happened."
Yeah.
He's got to be a man about it. So he wouldn't want that out there at all.
No.
If it was a girl, yeah, sure. But boys, no.
No.
They don't want to say, "Oh, I called on my mum last night." And the way that he called his mum, that was like a 2-year-old scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, of course, it was real. Yeah, that was real. Poor kid. I feel for him, even though I was laughing when I heard him.
Yeah.
You were too. You were too.
I,
Because it was so real. It was so natural.
I'm
You know?
qualified to laugh because I've had my fair share of psychic attacks. So, I've
yes, so
I've
have
been
I.
there.
But I wouldn't call that a psychic attack,
No.
Mike. 'cause
But
that
what I'm saying is
wasn't
I've
art.
experienced a nerving paranormal experience. Let's put it that way. So I'm qualified that I can have a little chuckle at it. But
Good man. And I hope I'm qualified too, so I can have a chuckle too.
shall we look at Bruce Kelly, the reincarnation of
Let's
Bruce
go
Kelly?
with Bruce Kelly.
The way it goes is, you can wait a year for some good reincarnation stories, then 3 or 4 all come along together. So this
And
is
this
another
is an
one of
awesome
them.
one, guys. So
Yeah.
so listen good for this one. This is great.
Here we go.
Life. Bruce Kelly was born on January the 19th, 1952, and grew up in Glendora, California. Throughout his life, Bruce suffered from 3 overpowering phobias: the fear of flying, a fear of enclosed spaces and a fear of water, and did not understand why he had these fears. For many years Bruce tried several different treatments for his anxieties and sought the help of several doctors to help with his crippling phobias, but nothing worked and were unable to help him with his fears. In desperation, in November 1987, he went to a hypnotherapist by the name of Rick Brown, who specialised in the then unusual practice of past life regression. Kelly told Dr. Brown that whenever he was in an aeroplane, he was filled with terror the moment the cabin doors were closed. He said he was terrified of water and could only shower if his back was to the spray and could not climb into a bathtub. If he did try and immerse himself in the water, he would become dizzy and nauseous. He was also troubled by stabbing pains in his stomach and chest that could not be explained by doctors. Dr. Brown said that 99% of the people who come to him did not go into past lives, and that only about 1% of people have spontaneous regressions when working with phobias. When initially treating Bruce, he found he did have a spontaneous regression to a past life. During his session, Bruce had visions of being in a submarine. He said that he was in his cabin, as it had an injury and was confined to his bunk with 2 broken ribs. Whilst lying in his bunk, there was a large explosion that initially shook the submarine. But then 2 days later, there was a second explosion causing large amounts of water to fill the cabin. He said that he and another sailor had attempted to get out of the cabin, but the water came rushing in and they drowned whilst trying to escape. Bruce felt that the visions were so vivid that it felt as if they were actually happening to him in real time. Under hypnosis, Dr. Brown then asked him questions about himself, where he claimed that his name was James Edward Johnston and that he was an American Navy submariner. He then went further, claiming that he was aboard the USS Shark during World War II, and they were underwater off of Borneo in Southeast Asia, near an island called Celebes. He said that he had drowned after the Japanese Navy had dropped 2 depth charges onto the submarine. Kelly also claimed that the sailor that was trapped and subsequently drowned with him was named Walter Pilgrim. He claimed that they both died at 11:34 p.m. on February the 11th, 1942. Bruce Kelly was a born-again Christian, and after his first session he could not accept the concept of reincarnation, but was nevertheless curious and continued with the sessions. Bruce Kelly was so fascinated after his first session with the hypnotist that the following day he went to the library to research the sailor he called Johnston and the USS Shark that he claimed to have lost his life in. In an amazing discovery, he found the USS Shark was the first submarine lost during the war and that it had disappeared near an island called Celebes. He also checked the crew roster and found the name of the sailor he claimed to have been, whose full name was James Edward Johnston, and he also found the other sailor who perished with him, Walter Pilgrim. Records showed that the USS Shark was lost on February the 11th, 1942. Everything that Bruce Kelly had told the hypnotherapist was true in every detail. Dr. Brown also spent many hours searching in libraries, the US Navy Historical Center and Operational Archives, and the military reference and service branches of the National Archives in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, the precise whereabouts of Johnston when he drowned could not be confirmed, as the submarine was never salvaged, and there were many submarines that sank and were never recovered, and there would have been many sailors that suffered the same terrifying fate as Johnston and his crewmen. After what Bruce Kelly had disclosed what being hypnotically regressed and the names and places being found to be accurate after checking historical records, Dr. Brown was certain that Bruce Kelly is the reincarnation of James Edward Johnston, and to further verify all of the facts, both Dr. Brown and Bruce Kelly decided to visit Jacksonville on April the 17th, 1993. They visited the home where Johnston had lived with his mother in the 1920s and 30s, where Bruce immediately experienced a strong reaction. They first moved to the side of the house when Bruce could see a bedroom, and he knew that that was his bedroom in his previous life. After seeing the house, strong emotional feelings started hitting him. Bruce remembered that he used to have to come in from the back street and came through the back door and the back porch. He remembered feeling like a second-class citizen as they were poor and his mother was unmarried. The latter met up with several of Johnson's friends and relatives, where there was one particular cousin called Elizabeth or Betty Watson, and she confirmed that as a young girl she stood next to him as his mother was dying, and also confirmed they would always eat the crust off of the ends of the bread, and was not allowed to enter the house through the front door and had to use the back door.
Interesting. You know, Amanda left a comment here. I think I missed something. She says, that's what I need because I'm so scared of sharks and I don't know why. Probably a past life regression is what she's referring to. But
Yeah. So, speaking of those three words, Mike, can I just add here a little warning to people?
mhm,
I've done past life regression. I've had it done on me, right? And I've also done it here on other people. Past life regressions, many people think is cool. They think it's fun. They think it is going to answer a lot of the questions about who they are. But you've got to remember here, guys, it's not cool and it's certainly not fun. I'm a trained first aid operator. And I'll be honest with you, reliving our past death can be extremely traumatic. Because one of mine, where I got my arm cut off and it turned into sepsis and I was infected throughout my whole body, I had to relive that in this like hypnotic state that I was in. And it was extremely, extremely stressful and traumatic. So I've heard of people who've had heart attacks while they're doing past life regressions. So please do not just say, oh yeah, I'm going to just sit and do a meditation on this off the internet, because if you do have some sort of like major medical reaction to what you see as a past life, you need someone around who's going to be able to look after you, okay?
yeah,
So please know that past life regression is not a joke,
No.
okay, first of all.
Yeah.
But in respect to this one, phobias and even things that we love. You know, I love the color red, and that was explained to me in one of my past lives because I had to sit on a red chair in jail for 15 years. Now I know why I'm associated to the color red. So it does, you know, on the flip side of it being a bit scary, there are good benefits of having a past life regression done with the right person who is a professional, because it does make us understand certain fragments of our own existence. But then here comes another warning. How many past lives have we had? Some of us have had millions of past lives. Some of us have had 15,000. Some early young souls, we may have only had 5 past lives. But when we go into these past lives, they're random. We can't select it. So it's up to how many we go through, and then we justify, okay, in that past life I learned I like the colour red. In that one I was in a castle and I was making the stonework, so that's why I now like castles and I like the architecture of castles. Okay, I was a knight, so there you go. Now I know why I like armour. You know, that sort of thing. But how many past lives do you really want to go and investigate? And, you know, even our phobias, you know, people that are afraid of flying or swimming or whatever, even a spider, it can represent something. But we can actually heal these phobias without having the past life regression done. All we've got to do is say, okay, I acknowledge that I have this phobia to spiders. I don't know why I'm having this phobia, but I wish that phobia to stop. Because anxiety that we get with a phobia is only based on future events. So as soon as we say the future is not going to be the same as any past life experience that I've ever had, then that's how we can eliminate those phobias. Okay?
I mean,
So I just wanted to
just on as another school of thought, that sometimes, you know, how many times that this happens quite often to me. I can go somewhere where I've never been before and say, this is so familiar to me. This really is so familiar to me. And you kind of find your way around somewhere instinctively. It doesn't mean that I lived there before. It could mean that I've been to this place in astral, in sleep state, or
That's what I was going
parallel
to say.
universes, and you know. So, and the other question is, why bring up the past? Because too many healers or shamans, whatever, that they want to bring up the past, but you're looking to the future. Often bringing up the past just reignites all the trauma again.
And if we look into psychology
Yeah.
and psychiatry, they want us kept in the past
It's
because when we're
business.
stuck in the past, they can meditate us to forget it. And there's not a psychologist or a psychologist out there, or a psychiatrist or psychologist, I think I said, but they don't talk about future events. What are you doing tomorrow?
No.
You can go and see a counsellor for that. You can go and see a life coach. But most psychiatrists and psychologists, they want to keep you in that past state, so then you're medicated, I should say.
Medicated, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, the only way forward is to concentrate on the forward. Because the less we think about what happened, the less that is going to create pain, hurt, misery in our existence.
Yeah.
Because it goes like a grief will go, you know. So it's best to start concentrating on something new and moving forward through it. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, moving on, because time's pressing.
I just love, well, just finally, Mike, I just want to say how amazing is it that in this story, not only did he get the names, he got the date, he got the time, he got the location, he knew all that information, and then he even went to the house and verified it with the family.
Yeah.
You know, how lovely would have it been for that family to say, okay, we've got this guy, random guy just turned up at the house, but he knows everything about my son.
Yeah.
Doesn't that give that person hope?
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be her son because, he was back in the 1940s, so she's probably passed now.
Yeah.
But the family would have that hope that even of something happening after our own death.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I loved it.
Well, I mean, there is a reincarnation story of, it was, I think, a wife that died or a husband that died, and I think it was 2 years later the husband got married again. They had a baby, and that baby was the reincarnation of the wife, and she told everything about it. I mean, that's freaky. That's not normal, Linda. I've got to say, you know. But yeah, so it does
the tape
happen.
recorder on that one.
Yeah.
You know, you really want to get the tape recorder out on those ones or video it. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's go and have a look at the paramedic. This is awesome. This is
you know, this is really the material we're looking for. This is a regular guy doing a regular job, not suspecting anything, and this does happen, I think, quite frequently to people.
It happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
this was very similar to my story back in the 1980s when I had my car accident when I broke my neck.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very similar.
Let's
go watch it.
Be careful what you say, because sometimes you may be yelling at an angel. We were dispatched to an auto accident, car on its side, in front of a local high school. We get there, 2 vehicles involved. We got 2 teenagers in one vehicle and an elderly lady in an SUV on its side. She's the driver. It flipped on the passenger side. 2 teenagers were okay, so I immediately triaged, found the lady in the other car, and I had to make entry. Before the rescue was even there, I needed to get into this lady before she suffocated to death. She was being hung by her own seatbelt. We knocked out the back window of the SUV, and I started getting in. And what I found was another lady holding her upright. So she was standing on the passenger window holding this lady up. And I said, "Ma'am, what are you doing?" She's like, "I'm helping the lady." I'm like, "Okay, but you need to get out of here. This is not safe. It's not even stabilized yet." She's like, "Okay." I said, "Get out. It's too dangerous for you. Let me do my job." So she turned it over to me. I kind of slid back inside the passenger seat in the back seat. She walked past me and out the back door. I took care of the lady, held her up, cut the seatbelt. My rescue crew then stabilized the vehicle, and we were able to get her out the front window after we removed the roof. So the crazy thing about this
is I took care of her, but when I went back out, I thought this other lady was involved in the accident. So I asked my police officer that was standing at the back of the vehicle, where'd the other lady go? He's like, Mike, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what I'm talking about? The lady with the high boots, she was well dressed, she had the purse hung over her. They're like, yeah, there was no lady like that. I'm like, okay, now you're pulling my chain. So I turned to my partner. I'm like, where is the lady, the other lady that was in the vehicle? They're like, Mike, there was no one else in this vehicle. So now I'm thinking, I'm going crazy. So, I asked 3, 4, 5 people, where did the lady go? And they're like, you were the only one in that vehicle with the driver. I'm like, that's crazy, because I yelled at her. I yelled at this person to get out of the vehicle. How do you not see her? They're like, there was no one else. So I went home that night and thought about it. Thought about what the lady said. She says it was if it wasn't for that lady in the vehicle, she probably would have choked to death because the seatbelt was wrapped around her. The only explanation is it had to be an angel. So just be careful on who you yell at when you're taking care of people.
So, there we go. I love it. I love those stories.
I absolutely love it too, Mike.
Yeah.
Because it's so similar to what happened to me back in the 1980s when I hit the bridge.
Yeah.
2 guys were in a utility driving behind me, and they came up and they were picking me up off the road, and they said, where's the other passenger? And I said, what other passenger? I'm in the car alone.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we've been following you now for about half an hour, and there's been two people in the car.
Yeah.
So the way that he spoke,
Yeah.
very, very similar to my experience, So I believe thoroughly if I'd stayed in that car, my radiator was 3 inches from the steering wheel.
Wow.
That's where the radiator was. So where were my legs in that mess? Because I drove into a bridge,
Yeah.
And the only reason why I broke my neck is because I collected the road when I got pushed out. So I remember getting pushed out. I sort of remember a hand pushing me, but I don't remember seeing anyone in the car. But, I'd like to hear this woman. Did she see someone in the car holding her up? That would have been amazing if she'd said, oh, yeah, there was there.
I think he said that the woman in the car said if it hadn't have been for that other lady, she would have suffocated.
That's right.
Yeah.
She would have suffocated. So she did see her.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
the tingles, Mike.
Yeah. So
they do come.
yeah.
They do come. And this is where we have to look at why does it happen to some people and not everybody?
Yeah.
Because we all have different life paths. And we've also got those sub-clauses where we can escape these life contracts that we write for ourselves.
Yeah.
So, if we have contracted that we're going to end this existence on a certain day,
Yeah.
they're not going to come in and help us because we've already contracted ourselves and we've given that free will and consent that that's going to be the end of this existence, right?
Yeah.
And then if we say, okay, my next out, I'm going to take it. I don't know, I'm sick of this life, because we do bring in subcontracts, look at how many sub-clauses, look at how many people just have that real close death, but they survive when they, like me, hitting the bridge. That should have been me out of the picture.
Yeah.
But obviously it was there if I wanted to take it. But, and I look at my life before that and around that time, and there were things going on that where I could have said, yep, this is my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm happy to leave. But obviously I stayed because they knew that I wouldn't be sitting here now doing my work that I do. I had.
Yeah.
So, we can't say why does it happen to one and not others, because we don't know the specific situations with those other people who don't get saved.
Sure.
And that's where we can just say, well, that's what they've allowed. That's what they allowed.
And
there was a reason. Everything.
We can at least take comfort from if you're in a serious car crash that, let's say, is life-threatening or ends your life. We do know that you are actually pulled from that crash before there's impact and you don't actually feel any pain whatsoever. They're smart like that upstairs.
Yeah. Well, I had that Shelley ghost in my house for 3 days.
Yeah.
She was a ghost, so she's not a spirit.
Right.
She was an earthbound entity,
Hmm.
and she came here, and I kept asking her what happened in the car accident. She said, "What car accident?" And I said, "Well, you're telling me that the car rolled," and she said, "Yeah, the car rolled." But then the next thing she remembered, she was standing next to Dave on the road,
Yeah.
and she couldn't understand why the ambulance was helping him and not her.
Yeah.
So she didn't actually, there was no pain with her
No.
either.
No.
So whether our soul does leave just prior to the point of impact or whatever is up to debate. But as I know with Shelley, that ghost, she did not have any recollection at all of her death,
No.
which is normal for a lot of ghosts, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Anyway, we
Okay.
better get on to
The
our
last
NDE
one.
part 1.
An NDE part 1, another longish NDE, beautifully expressed. So I had to do it in 2 parts. So this is the first part, and well, you know more about NDEs than me, Linda. Here we go.
It's all good.
So I was put under anesthesia, and that was the last thing that I was aware of until suddenly I was not under anesthesia and out cold. I was in fact very conscious. I was actually up near the corner of the operating room ceiling, real close to ceiling tiles. And there was a lot going on in the operating room in terms of the surgeons swearing at nurses, sending them out to get blood. It was urgent, there was a lot of chaos, and my attention was drawn back toward the actual operating room table from the corner of the ceiling where I found myself. And as I looked back, or my consciousness turned back that way, it was just as they were flipping my body from face down to face up on the operating room table, and a nurse was hustling out the door. So I got to actually see myself from a perspective that we never do in normal life, because when we see ourselves two-dimensional in pictures or even in a mirror. We never really see ourselves in 3 dimensions like we do other people. And first of all, I saw myself, and I realized it was myself, had to be, was very, very white in the face. And I had big hair at that time. It was the early 1980s, and this curly hair, and I couldn't get over it. I looked terrible. And I didn't really feel any connection to my body, but I thought, oh, that's what I look like. Ooh, that's terrible. And then I realized if I'm seeing myself from outside myself, I must be dead. That was my immediate thought. And I thought, but I'm alive. I'm okay. What about my husband and my kids in the waiting room? I've got to let them know that the real me is still okay. I'm alive. So as soon as I thought that, I began floating and actually went through the wall of the operating room and back out into the hallway that they had brought my stretcher down to bring me to the OR. Then I was trying to retrace how we had come down to the operating room. And so I continued down this long hallway past other operating rooms that were being used. And then there was a double door entry that came into the operating room suite, went right through that doorway just as I had gone through the wall. And then as I got through that double doorway, I was drifting in the direction that I thought maybe the waiting room was, and was going along when all of a sudden I had this telepathic voice that spoke and said, "Pay attention to this man." And so it drew my attention to the side, and there was in fact a man who was rushing back in the opposite way from the way, toward the way I had just come from. And he was wearing like a jacket and dress pants. And as soon as the voice said to pay attention, nearsighted me, who always wears glasses, was clearly seeing, and not only clearly seeing everything about his facial features and his clothing, but was actually able to kind of zoom in and see his eye color and see real definition to exactly what this person looked like. And then as he rushed past and was going back toward those double doors to the operating room suite, I could hear his own thoughts. I realized I was hearing his thoughts. He was saying, I need to get in there. I have to get in there fast. Was running, and instead it was as though I were being drawn by a force that was lifting me up toward the ceiling and then to the following floor and continuing upward until I actually literally came out the roof of the hospital. And I kept going up and up until I was literally about the height of what a small plane might be flying at. And then the direction I was being pulled changed from upward to lateral. And I was moving really quite fast, and I began to think, I don't feel any temperature change out here. I don't feel wind going by me. I didn't feel the sensation of speed, but I was moving. My consciousness was moving right in the direction and out over the city of Anchorage. And again, a different telepathic voice I heard, and it said, follow me. And it came from my left side. And as I looked over toward my left, there was a man who was climbing up a slope out of this down valley-like area that this must have been. And he was climbing up the slope out of it. And when he said, follow me, I was immediately behind him, about 3 or 4 feet behind him. And so I was looking at him closely from what did he look like? Who was this? And I saw that he had very almost black hair that had been pulled back and tied with a leather tie. And then as far as clothing, he just had a very simple off-white sort of a toga type of clothing with, again, a tie, simple tie around the waist, and it came down to about just past mid-thigh was where the toga left off. And then below his knees, he had crisscrosses of leather across down his calves to leather sandals. And as I took all of this in, I'm thinking, well, that's not how I picture Jesus. And I know this isn't Jesus. I don't know who it is, but that much I know. And I don't know why I'm supposed to follow him, but I did. And as he came up over the edge of where he had climbed up and I had been behind him, then the scenery changed totally. And what I saw then was a green, lush meadow type filled with beautiful flowers, trees with lush leaves off in the distance, just absolutely gorgeous. And what I realized then was that everything I was looking at, from the grass to the flowers to the trees to the leaves, everything was lit from within and was giving off this light that was within it. And the colors were indescribable, brilliant, iridescent. Words just don't describe these colors, many of which I had never seen before. So I was really fascinated with this, and my guide, I started to call him, had gone on ahead and again said to me, follow me. And when he did, then again, I was right up behind him. And at this point, he was on the edge of a river, and the river was glistening, giving off light like everything else was. Everything just seemed to be so alive. On the far bank of this river, which was not all that wide, but on the far bank were my father, who had died when I was 7, and my brother, who had been killed in a car accident, and aunts and uncles that I knew had passed away. Then there were 4 other people that were there, beings that were there, who I just knew. I had never seen pictures of my grandparents because they had died before I was born, long before I was born. But yet I knew that that's who they were. And it was.
So there you are. We continue that one next week. But
oh, honey, I've got so many similarities to her story.
Yeah.
You know, how many times have I said that there must be this like cross on the field where we land and we're in this field of flowers? And it's so good to hear other people describe it in their own words.
Yeah.
I loved it how she said everything was lit from within. And in my book, I actually said it was everything had an energy force coming out of it.
Right.
So it was like from within, like she said. So I love it because I understand when other people say their version of what they saw. I loved it how she was explaining the floating near the ceiling. She saw herself in the other perspective, because that's how it happened when I saw myself, because you're not connected. She actually said, I didn't really feel any connection to myself. I say that in my book. So how good is that?
Yeah.
The other man, you could hear his thoughts. Well, that's heaven straight away, because we can all hear what everybody else is thinking, because we're all one.
Yeah.
You know? Oh my God. What's this? Some clothing. The woman. Okay. So when she's explaining this guy in this like toga dress, that exactly sounded exactly like that woman who was floating above me when I was in hospital back in the 80s. I didn't die that night. I didn't even lose consciousness, but I woke up and she was floating above me on the hospital bed. So she just confirmed so many things that I've said. And, you know, this book, you know, I'll put it up just so people realize I do have a book. The words in here were written like 6 years ago. So how could I say the same words that we're now showing tonight unless it was true?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, it blows me away, Mike. I can't wait to see part 2 next week. I really can't.
And
Just to see those similarities again.
talking of books, how's your other book coming along?
It is coming along. It's going, well, my next one. So I've now got 5 Years in Heaven, which is this one. This is the only one I'm going to do in hard copy. Already I've got Ghosts Explained. I've changed the name to the, because she's told me I've got to change them all to the Explained series. So I've got Ghosts Explained. I'm now working on Psychics Explained. I'm hoping that'll be out in about 3 weeks. Then I'm doing Spirit Guides Explained. I've got Auras Explained, Crystals Explained, and a couple others in the pipeline as well that she's telling me I've got to get done.
And all digital.
Phew. They're all going to be digital because, Mike, you know, you take it, you just can put it on a USB, take it up to a printing place, and you can print it and save about $30 or $50.
Yeah.
So, you know, instead of just buying it from the publisher and paying postage and stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm trying to save people money just by having it just as a PDF.
Yeah.
You know, because then they can send it to their friends as well. Because that's how I am, you know, I don't mind. If someone
You
says,
can
hey,
break your own copyright rules, Linda. It's okay.
That's right. I know, mate. But, you know, I'm laxed because I fully understand, you know, the whole world's going through bad times. I'm never going to put an expectation on someone and say, hey, you can only come to me if you pay my rate. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that person. You know, we all need money to survive. You know, my rent's just gone up significantly. Oh, God, it's sort of drowning me in debt at this point. The rent increases here in Australia. But at the end of the day, they are looking after us. And, you know, it's all right to say, hey, can you help me pay for things, you know? It's okay. Because at the end of the day, we do an energetic service. Yeah. You know, even if someone's watching this tonight and just thinking, oh, yeah, it's just another thing to watch on a night, so I don't have to think about work going in there tomorrow. You know, you think about TV and stuff, you know, we still pay for that service. So, you know, it's up to people whether they do want to flick us over a little donation or gift or even a tip. But at the end of the day, Mike, you know, I would like you to get your PayPal in order. I know we're going to change from PayPal because it's going crazy. But, you know, at least then so people can flick you a couple of dollars just as a thank you for watching the show, you know. So, yeah, I'd like you to get your PayPal link up during the show. And hopefully, you know, if anyone is watching the show tonight and you like, you know, that story that we had about Joanne where she was talking about her son coming from school and she saw him, that he saw her in the car when it wasn't her. If you do have a paranormal, supernatural, angel, near-death experience or weird ghost story, just like she did, just email it to Mike and we can read it out on the show. If you do want to do a video, just record about a 5-minute video, send it over to Mike so we can get it on the show. You know, we want real stories from real people. So then we don't get in the algorithms and get our show pulled every week like it has been, but also it's a confirmation that this happens to us average people as well. This doesn't just happen to enlightened people. This doesn't just happen to ascended masters or great psychics out there, you know, like some I know. You know, I don't even call myself a great psychic at the best of times, but we all have the capacity to tap into this because it
Yeah.
is natural, it is innate. And as long as we trust
Yeah.
it, and the more we give it that hope that it is going to come into us,
Mm.
and we allow it to come into us, the more then we do receive it.
Yeah.
So you do want to share your story to give that hope to someone else that they can do this as well. Or if you just want something a question answered,
Yeah.
you've got two experts here. Between the both of us, even if you just want to start asking us questions,
Mhm.
questions to Mike and Linda, hey, I've had this situation. What do you think this could
Yeah.
be? Type thing or whatever. Give us a contact.
Yeah.
I've already I've put Mike's contact in there. So contact Michael Wayne. We'll certainly get you onto our show, even if you want to stay anonymous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's a good way to finish, Linda. Nothing more to
Well,
add.
I do need to go because my throat is now quite
Yeah.
sore.
Yeah. And I got to
Time
go.
to rest the throat.
Super. So next week, same time, same channel, or maybe not
Yep.
the same channel, but same time. Who knows? Whatever
So-
you're doing, everyone,
Yep.
have a great week. Live in joy, laughter, and love, and watch your world change.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Stay safe and we'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Okay? Bye.
Bye-bye.